Hi, Anita Dawn here from Anita's Wellbeing Walks in Southwest Manchester. I wanted to hop on and explain the difference between trekking, or they're also known as walking poles, and the Nordic walking pole. There is quite a bit of difference in the pole. The strap is very different, and the paws at the bottom that we wear on tarmac or on the roads is also different. And if you're coming Nordic walking with a Nordic walking group, then you would need a Nordic walking pole because it tends to propel you forward better than a walking trekking pole. So let's first of all have a look at the trekking pole. Well, the difference. So you can see the strap. This is a loop designed to access by underneath, and it's at the back of the hand, and then you have the pressure between the forefinger and your thumb. So let's actually just stay with the trekking pole. The guidelines are to have a right angle at the elbow, which is slightly higher, slightly longer than we would have with a Nordic walking pole. We don't get a lot of support from strap, so we need to be holding the handle quite a lot of the time. And just note that the paw, if it comes with a paw, is a flat paw. So let's have a look first of all at the trekking walking pole technique. By the way, you would always have two for balancing the body. I've just got one here to make it simpler to demonstrate. So if the paw is flat and I push down through even the strap or the pole, then it's more likely to push me up that way. Or if I have an angle, which we want to have when we're walking, whether it's Nordic walking or trekking, then the paw, the flat paw, is not flat on the ground. Yes, so it doesn't have a great grip. So with the walking technique, they are quite similar, but it's the equipment that's really very different. Yeah. So I'm going to stretch my arm forward and then I'm going to push back. So it's propulsion forward, but I'm on the tip of that paw. So I don't have a lot of grip with the paw on the ground if I'm using this type of paw. I'm also putting quite a lot of pressure through that rather sensitive part of the hand. With the Nordic walking pole, we set it up a little bit lower. This one's needs to go a little bit longer. Okay, so we would have it a little bit lower than 90 degrees. Notice the strap is very supportive. So when I press down through the strap, I'm feeling it on the bottom hand of the thumb, of the bottom of the hand, rather than in between the forefinger, which would be quite uncomfortable. Notice the paws on a Nordic walking pole, 45 degrees, because we want to walk with a 45-degree angle of the pole to help propel us forward. So with a slightly lower pole, I'm able to keep my arm straighter. So what does it matter whether I keep a bent arm or bend and straighten it? If I'm having it bent and straightening it all the time, we could get overuse injury in the elbow. And we don't access the upper body muscles so effectively. With the Nordic walking technique, we want that arm swing from the shoulder, and the arm is straight most of the time. So notice the 45-degree angle of the pole, which means the paw is now flat on the ground, which is also 45-degree angle. It's flat on the ground, has maximum traction on the ground. Okay, so keeping that arm straight all the time, keep the angle at the pole and propel us forward. So with that 45-degree angle on the paw and the backward plant of the pole, it propels us that way. Whereas with the trekking pole, the paw is more likely to send us upwards there. Right, so I hope you've seen the difference between the straps. So the strap is really supportive. Why is it so important? We don't want to grip the pole. If we grip the pole, we're going to put a lot of stress on the wrist, but also lose a lot of energy in the grip. And as we get older, we certainly don't want to grip, because that sends the blood pressure higher, even higher than it normally. It goes higher with exercise, but if you grip something at the same time, it's going to shoot it higher, and I'm sure most of us don't want that. Okay, so with the technique here, this type of strap allows us to keep the wrist straight at all times, and I'm not really holding the pole at all. I have a little bit of contact with my little finger and maybe my ring finger just to guide the pole and for safety of the pole. All right, so I hope that's clarified the difference between the benefit of the Nordic walking strap over the trekking pole strap. Yes, much more comfortable, and also you're able to keep that wrist alignment, and you don't really need to hold the pole as much as you would with a walking or trekking pole. And we've got the different paws. All right, so very briefly, with the strap doesn't come out on the trekking pole. Here we have, this is the lecky, and it does just clip out. This is the shark release, and fairly quite simple to clip in and clip out. But generally we keep the strap on, and then we can, if we want to blow our nose or have lunch or something, we can keep the strap on instead of taking the whole strap off each time, which is also a little bit cumbersome with gloves. Alrighty, so yeah, with the pole, they're both the same right and left with all poles, and it's just the strap that's different right and left for the Nordic walking pole. However, with the trekking pole, they're the same, so it's a little bit easier there. And then we have strapless poles, which we start when we teach people how to Nordic walk, because it's a little bit simpler. We're not tied in if they're going to trip themselves up. When you haven't learned the technique, then there is quite a high chance of tripping yourself up or someone else up with the pole, and you wouldn't be able to release yourself from the strap. Does that make sense? So here, instead of a strap, we have a ledge, which again, it's the underside where it's much more comfortable there gently, and we don't need to hold the, don't like to call it a handle because we don't want to hold it. We don't need to. Very light connection there, and we're actually pushing through the ledge there and still keeping that wrist nice in alignment. All right, so I hope that's answered some of your questions there and clarified the difference between a trekking pole and a walking pole. The people selling trekking walking poles tend to teach a similar technique, but because they recommend a higher pole, then it's hard to keep that arm straight all the time. Again, perhaps overuse injury at the elbow might ensue, depending on how much you use it, and you're not accessing the upper body muscles, so many muscles in your body, so you're not going to get a full body workout as much as you would with Nordic walking poles. Yeah, if you're looking at the poles, there's lots of different types of. This is an extendable one where it just goes a little bit longer at the top. Yeah, so that's quite useful. And this one is a twist lock. So I'm twisting it. Yeah, a twist lock. That's the most common one. And then we have the push button ones here, where you have the push buttons. Yeah, and quite easy just to change she says, to change the length, and no chance of slipping. So these are called booties. They're a little bit bigger, so you get a little bit more stability with a bigger booty rather than a paw, but there's still the angle there. So we have fixed length in Nordic walking. We have extendable poles where it just extends a little bit, and then we have these adjustable, where they go from much shorter to much longer, very useful as an instructor. And then we have telescopic, yeah, lots of different ways. Sometimes they just collapse down inside of themselves. So you've got those three pieces and they pack down quite small for travel. This, just an example of the Gabelle, which I really like, is the very, very light pole. So if you want something lighter, go for carbon rather than aluminium. So this comes out there, that untwists, and there we have a telescopic pole. Well, it's actually a traveller, also a traveller pole they call it. Yeah. So the main poles that we have are Lecky and Gabelles. So it's really a good idea to invest quite a lot of money in your pole because it makes such a difference to your walking experience. Yeah. So if you've got any questions, pop them in the comments or get hold of me through the contact form here. And great. Thanks for watching and happy walking.